Before I get to today's preview, I just want to mention that I just had a long, about 60-minute conversation with Ryan Reynolds, not the celebrity, the NFL betting expert, and one of my friends, a Giants fan. If you've heard me say this before, I apologize, but I don't think it's worth repeating. I don't listen to anybody all season in the NFL. I don't listen to any opinions at all. I don't read any opinions. But Ryan Reynolds is a guy who I always just take in his insight. I listen. He always has something to observe, adds layers onto your thinking. And if there's any one guy who I would suggest that you listen to and take in his insight, it is Ryan Reynolds, who I've worked with before at the 33rd team. He's a writer over there at Establish the Run, just a very sharp mind. And I recommend listening to our full show, which I will put out tomorrow, Thursday, August 28th. On to the New Orleans Saints, which I am going to blow the lead here a little bit because I think the Saints are going to be the worst team in the NFL. I don't know that they're going to be the worst team in the NFL, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that they're in a very bad position. Without getting into what happened last year, because last year there was a lot of tumultuous things still, right? A quarterback changeover, Derek Carr injured, Spencer Rattler comes in, very shaky there too. So all their stats, right? Like below average to average across the board, 26 to 32nd rankings in most categories, some 18 to 24th, but overall, and part of that is because they're in the NFC South, that they got some better stats than you might think. But overall, this is a very bad offense, and I think it got worse. Alvin Kamara is obviously legit. He has some big seasons, but he's not a spring chicken anymore. Chris Olave is legit. But other than that, like I hate who they have around this quarterback room, and I think the quarterback room is the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Besides Chris Olave, there's Jawan Johnson, Raheed Shaheed, Brandon Cook. Brandon Cook, haven't heard of him in a few years for a good reason. Just hasn't done much. And then their offensive line in general, I mean, they have great potential. They have a rookie left tackle that they took in the first round, but and they do have a center too that are rated very highly last season. But this isn't an offensive line that you would want in a situation where they're going to really need to overcompensate. Because when you have a guy like Spencer Rattler as your quarterback and Tyler Shugg behind him, Tyler Shugg, a guy who needed to become 24, 25, 26. I think he's 25 going on 26, or he's already 26. He needed 7 years of college to get into pro football. He needed that for a reason. And Spencer Rattler, I mean, in the preseason, he threw 6.9 yards per pass, 5.8 yards per pass, and 57% completion percentage in his career in the NFL, which is mostly last season. But this is the worst quarterback room by far in the NFL. And then on top of that, you got a guy in Kellen Moore, who is now their coach, who had some good moments as an offensive coordinator, certainly with the Eagles last season, with the Cowboys somewhat. I'm sure he's a bright offensive mind, but this is a team that needs a leader of men. Like you need a Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, Andy Reid. Like you need a culture changer. And Kellen Moore screams Brandon Staley vibes for me. That is not good. Brandon Staley, famously great background defensively, going to the Chargers to become their coach, or it came from the Rams. Not good. Not a leader of men. And Kellen Moore looks like a nice guy. Great little family. Of course, you're going to take a head coaching spot if you can get it. But this is a bad, bad situation for him. And I really, truly think they can lose every single game this season. He brought in Doug Nussmeier, Phillies quarterback coach last season. He was also a quarterback coach on the Chargers and Cowboys in the past, so he has a pass with Kellen Moore. It's a good fit. I do love the spot for Matt Eberflus as far as like taking revenge on the NFL. Eberflus kicked out of Chicago, no longer with the Bears. I think he is a good defensive coach. I don't know if he's great, but you got that revenge angle, motivation angle to really show his prowess as a defensive mind. Sure. But he's also kind of a laissez-faire type of guy, right? Just like more nonchalant, more casual. That didn't work with the Bears. It's not going to work with this defense either. Look at this defense. They're young, but that doesn't give them excuses, right? Even with a defensive head coach last season, 30th in yards allowed, 30th in yards per carry. Completion percentage was impressive, 61.93% allowed. It's one of the better ones in the league, but terrible in sacks, only 25th, and mostly average against the pass in general. Now, most of their draft was spent on defensive depth following the signing of their left tackle and Tyler Shugg. After that, a lot of defensive depth, but no one that really jumps out as someone who can make a difference. And PFF ranks their defensive line as 32nd. I mean, there's Cam Jordan, who's doing other gigs. He's obviously going to retire soon. Carl Granderson, which has been very hot and cold, and Chase Young, we thought was going to be like the next, maybe, I don't know, like an LT type of figure. Well, nobody's Lawrence Taylor, to be fair. No one's LT. But Chase Young had some real upside, we thought. That's a career going down the drain, and he's one of your crucial pass rushers at this point. It's a bad defensive line. They still got some veterans like Demario Davis. They're hoping for more from Kool-Aid Ministry this season. A big draftee last season. But the operation here, especially at the top, especially quarterback and coach and leadership and fortified offensive and defensive fronts. A lot of in that sentence. Not good. It's not looking good. Now, let's talk about their schedule. Easy on paper, but I have them starting 0-4. They got Arizona, San Francisco, and then they're at Seattle, at Buffalo. Good luck. The AFC West and NFC West is who they will face this season. Outside of the NFC South, of course, their own division, and then a few other outlier opponents. AFC East is not the worst division to face, but of course, Buffalo is a loss. The Patriots are probably a loss. When I put them up against any team, I consider it a loss because of other teams just have more at the crucial positions on their roster. I even think that the Jets will be, I think the Jets will beat the Saints this season. If you're in Survivor contests, now, of course, a lot of things can change, right? We don't know. I'm not the type of bettor and football analyst that's going to say, bet against the Saints every week. I would never do that, okay? Maybe Kellen Moore is the second coming of Sean Payton for the Saints. I highly doubt it. If you look at his personality and disposition, it's not there. But maybe this team is better than we think. Maybe Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shugg or their defense really steps up. I don't think so. But who knows, right? That being said, from where I sit right now, the Saints should be a target on your Survivor entries to bet against. Play teams against the Saints. I give them a rating of 58, which is among the worst in the NFL. I hate their roster and I hate their leadership. I hate their leadership on the field and off the field. I hate their quarterback situation. So this is a major challenge for Kellen Moore as a first-year head coach. I really hope the organization treats him well because they did not set him up well. We've seen how these scientific type coaches have done in the past, right? When you have talent poor rosters and you're a Brandon Staley prototype, it's not good. So I do have a bet on this team. You might be able to guess what that bet is. I've already shared it with my clients. I'm very sorry to Saints fans out there. I can't find a lot of positive in the season upcoming. Up next is my favorite team, or the team I'm a fan of, I should say. Not my favorite team to do much this season necessarily. We'll see what I have to say about the New York Giants coming up next.